Could we please all rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Thank you, everybody. Very kind. Nice to see you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Perth February agenda briefing session. I'll declare the session open at exactly 5 p.m. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia, and on behalf of everyone in this room, I, pay my respects and our respects to elders past, present and emerging. It is indeed a pleasure to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar country. CEO, can I ask you to recite the prayer, please?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, CEO. Please be seated, everybody. So just some brief announcements. Firstly, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the city's website following the meeting. It continues to break streaming records, so get in there quick. Moving on to item 3, attendance. In attendance today are the Deputy Lord Mayor Di Bain, Councillor Sandy Angie, Councillor Catherine Leeser, Councillor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Brent Fleeton, and Councillor Liam Govett. Good afternoon, councillors. In addition, can I welcome the Chief Executive Officer, other officers and any members of the public or media in attendance. Good evening and welcome to our guests. Thanks for being here. Councillor Victor Coe is on an approved leave of absence. I'll remind councillors to please submit any application for leave of absence prior to next week's ordinary council meeting. And we've also received an apology from Councillor Rebecca Gordon for this afternoon. We'll move on to item 4, announcements. I'll hold those until next week's council meeting. Item 5.1 is public questions. Public question time will be held at the ordinary council meeting next week also. Item 5.2 is deputations. CEO, do we have any deputations?
Yes, Lord Mayor, we have received a deputation in relation to item 12.1.
Thanks, CEO. I will remind anybody giving a deputation that there is a strict 10-minute limit for deputations, and I'm going to invite Ross Tapper and David Smith, representing Targa West Proprietary Limited, to please step forward to make your deputations. Only one of you, is it? Together. Thank you. Come on forward, gentlemen. So, Ross, I'll just remind you, it is 10 minutes, but David, thanks for being here. Moral support always helps. I know the feeling. Ross, if you would like to just state your name, please, for us and your organisation. Your address is important here too. Thank you.
Address is where I live, I presume?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, sorry. Ross Tapper, I'm the event director of Targa West. You mind if I just take that off so I can talk? Oh. I live 15 Coates Avenue in Baldivis. Lord Mayor and councillors, and most of you I met this time last year when we came along and gave a deputation, and welcome to those who weren't here last year. I'd like to thank you once again for allowing us to present our Make Smoking History Targa West, which we believe is a truly unique event on the City of Perth's calendar. This year will be our 18th year running Targa West, and it's been run in the City of Perth in one form or another from the very beginning, and it's a privilege to be able to run a motorsport event in the middle of a capital city. Targa West is owned by myself and my wife, with David Smith, who's behind her, who works for us, and a few other contractors assisting with PR and social media when required. And we also contract team leaders to set up the City of Perth stage and the displays on Langley Park in the City of Perth family zone. We've been very fortunate to have worked out one way or another through the last 2 years. In addition to the 4-day Targa West, we run 12 competition events a year from Albany, Pemberton to Bunbury and the Perth Motorplex. In addition, we organise over 20 displays and other functions through the year, from a few cars through to many hundred cars. Targa West is a national level tarmac rally held under the auspices of Motorsport Australia and approved by local governments and the relevant authorities, including the police. Although the key components of rallying is the competition, Targa West has been far greater than that. With hundreds of competitors and their service crews, 500 officials and thousands of spectators over the 4 days, is one of the biggest weekends of motorsport in WA. But what else it brings is the social capital of bringing people together, either within the competitors' teams, officials, and just importantly, bringing people out of the homes to come to the city to enjoy the spectacle, colour, sounds and vibrancy of motorsport action and static vehicle display. Targa West is a 4-day event that is based in the city in Perth, but also takes place in Whiteman Park, City of Swan, in Ellenbrook, Bullsbrook and Malaga, City of Kalamunda on Mundaring Royal Road and the Zigzags, and in the main street of Haynes Street, the Shire of Mundaring and Parkerville, Shire of Turjo in 4 different areas, and the Shire of Chittering and the Lower of Chittering. Not many events would be spread over such an area and be promoted as Perth and the surrounding areas. The best part of Targa West is it is inclusive for people of all socio-economic backgrounds, with all the activities and displays being completely free for the spectating public to attend. The celebration of motorsport and the Shannon's Classic on the Swan vehicle display, including the City of Perth Family Zone on Langley Park, are free for participants showing off their cars, bikes and carts. Within the City of Perth, we run a pre-event promotion in Murray Street Mall. This year will be on the Thursday, the 12th of August. And this is always well received by the passing foot traffic and those out on their lunch breaks. We have our accommodation rally headquarters at the Hyatt Hotel for 5 days. And last year we planned to start the event in Supreme Court Gardens, but last minute changes were due to the waterlogged gardens, and we moved to the start to the front of the Hyatt Hotel, and it turned out to be successful. Our application to the City of Perth is to repeat the start at the Hyatt Hotel, where all the crews are based, and we'll be inviting the Lord Mayor along, or his representative, to be the official starter. The big change for this year that we'd like to do is move the Shannon Show and Shine that has been in Northbridge on the Friday evening for 17 years, and we wish to make the change for this year. Last year we checked out Forest Place on a Friday evening and concluded they would make an ideal location with late night shopping, bringing a more family-friendly orientated crowd. We were very impressed when we came in. Admittedly, it was just before Christmas with the food vans, but the mix of office workers staying behind and the shoppers created a great atmosphere. The show and shine is a crowd favourite. The 60-plus rally cars are on display from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the public to get up close to them, while the crews, their sport teams and officials take advantage of the cafes and restaurants within the area. We're proposing to utilise Murray Street and Hay Street malls as an all-day show and shine in the lead up to the rally cars arriving. The extra displays could be something like hot rods and street machines or exotic cars, most of which we could only dream of potentially owning, or inviting car manufacturers to set up displays as they do in shopping centres. But we believe we can turn the city centre into a motor show for the whole day. On the Sunday, we turn Langley Park and the Terrace Road car park into a massive display of cars and competition. We have the celebration of motorsport. It's a unique motorsport display on Langley Park, showcasing over 400 vehicles, representing all forms of motorsport, including speedway, circuit racing, motorbike, motocross, jet boats, go-karts, historic racing, off-road, drag cars and remote control cars, and even soapboxes. The Shannon's Classic on the Swan is a car display on the grass area between Riverside Drive and the Swan River or around 600 metres that joins the vent into the bell tower and the Elizabeth Quay precinct with approximately 300 classic and contemporary vehicles on display and around 40 different car clubs involved. We have a City of Perth family zone on Langley Park, has activities for all ages including fun games and driving simulators. There's plenty of food vans and seating to make an enjoyable day out on Langley Park. We also run another event at the same time called the Engine Shop Targa City Sprint. It's a competition for those who haven't entered the 4-day Targa West. It starts and finishes on Riverside Drive and goes through the Terrace Road car park and is limited to 60 cars. That event runs from 9 a.m. to 12:30 on the Sunday. And after the Targa City Sprint concludes, the Makes Making History Targa West arrives from Malaga to compete on the stage. This is the finale to the event, with competitors having one last chance to make up time to move up the outright standings. And at the end of Targa West competition, we had the champagne presentation of winners of the different categories on Riverside Drive, providing a great photo opportunity of the podium and the City of Perth skyline. The end of the event is the City of Perth Gala presentation at the Hyatt Hotel on the Sunday evening. A representative from the City of Perth will be invited to present the trophies to the winning crews. Activities on Langley Park and Riverside Drive include 120 competition cars and 180 competitors, 600 display vehicles on display for approximately 800 participants, 20 food vans and commercial displays, and approximately 15,000 spectators over the day and an estimated 25,000 visiting various event elements held within the City of Perth. All of this is promoted on 96 FM through an extensive social media and PR campaigns that last year generated activity including the GWN 7 News, Channel 7 News, and the 9 News including 3 live crosses to the weather, newspapers including features in the Weekend West, radio interviews, social media including 63,000 video views, 67,000 engagements and over 1.4 million impressions. And this year we'll contract culture counts to get an accurate figure on how many people attend the different parts of the event in the City of Perth and the social and economic benefits of those visits. And finally, thank you to the City of Perth for the opportunity of bringing motorsport right into the heart of Perth and enabling us to provide an event free for people of all ages and backgrounds to attend. We hope Targa West can continue to contribute to a well-rounded calendar of events that appeal to a broad cross-section of the community. Thank you.
Ross, thank you. Appreciate those words. I might just see if any of our councillors have any questions they might like to ask. Yes, Councillor Lisa.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Ross. I love the Targa West. I should declare that. With the Friday night event coming into Forest Chase, do you have a feeling for how many cars might be there?
Well, there'll certainly be the full field of Targa West cars, which each year is around about 60 cars. But we've been talking to the event team within the City of Perth, and they've said what else we can do. And our belief is that if we could maybe make something that will last all day in the Hay Street Mall and the Murray Street Mall, we're potentially looking at moving up to King Street, but I think we take one step at a time, and if we can make something work this year, we'll look at what we can do in the future. And that when we walked around, we noticed how much eating area, or cafes, restaurants, hotels were up by King Street, which is the main eating area on a Friday night. So we'd like to be able to maybe expand up to there sometime in the future if we can make this year work as successful as we plan to.
Thanks, Councillor. Thank you, Ross. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Hello, thank you very much. That was a wonderful deputation. Do you have any plans for electric vehicles?
We do.
High performance electric vehicles.
And I didn't ask her to ask me that. There's one electric vehicle that's has been competing in Targa West for some years, and if you've been watching your news, was it before Christmas, just after Christmas? The people who are behind that car have set up the electric highway out onto the Nullarbor, and that was all developed because of Targa West, which we're very proud about, and the promotion that those guys are doing go worldwide with, because the world is looking at what they're doing, and including over east, who came out to the Nullarbor to see that car, or the electric charging part of it, which runs on the charges runs on reused chip oil from cooking the chips, which runs the generator, which runs the car. So effectively it's zero emissions coming out of generating that car. So we have one car that does Targa West, which is fully caged car, and we have 2 other cars that intermittently come and compete in our lower level events, and hopefully we can get them to compete in the Targa City Sprint. And we also have the guys who compete. There's the Telstra owners, Tesla, Takiva, yeah, something like that. Toshiba, which is the Tesla owners and electric vehicle owners car club, and they come along and put a display on Langley Park as well as part of the celebration of motorsport.
What do you think of Tesla owners? Just out of interest, Ross, do you find them slightly unusual or a bit different, or anything about
the guys we deal with, we couldn't be more than happy with.
Good answer.
They are like, even the guys we deal with say about Tesla owners that they're different because they started the electric vehicle things, but I'm a firm believer that the electric vehicle is the way of the future. And some of my die-hard friends who are into petrol-driven cars are saying, but it's not real motorsport. And the guy who drives the Tesla says, yes, but horses still race, as in referring to the fact that the horses were the mode of transport 100 years ago. So petrol engines will be around for a long time yet. The future is certainly some other form of way of driving these cars, whether it's electricity or batteries or helium and hydrogen, sorry. We'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you, Ross. Very well answered. Is there anything else? Ross, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you both for being here. David, thank you very much. Good on you. Thanks, guys. We will reminder that questions of the administration in relation to this item, please reserve these until the item is tabled for questions. Thanks to Ross and David. We're going to move on to item 6 on the agenda, disclosures of interest. CEO, have we got any received here?
Yes, Lord Mayor, Councillor Leeser has declared a proximity interest in relation to item 18.1 as the Perth Concert Hall is directly located across the road from a property she jointly owns.
Thanks, CEO. Are there any disclosures of interest from the floor, councillors?
I should disclose interest in that one as well, being on the board for Theatre Trust.
Okay, thank you. It could bring a flood of hands. Councillor Angie? Thanks, councillors. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. All noted?
Can I also declare another interest?
Sure.
I couldn't work out how to say this, but it's in item 12.3, confidential attachment, person 1. He's a person, they are a person who is known to me.
Okay. Thank you. No further disclosures. Thanks, everybody. Items 7 to 10 will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting next week. We'll move to reports then. As we move through the reports, I'll ask if any councillors have questions in relation to the items. Nothing under 11. 12 is Community Development Alliance reports. There are questions received from Councillor Fleet, and this is the event sponsorship 2021-2022 round 2. Councillor Fleeton?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Just want to clarify something in the city's response on page 2. All agreements have provision for cancellation, including due to COVID-19. But does that mean if there's actually a health directive to cancel it, or if the organisation thinks it's just too hard to do?
CEO?
And if I could ask the General Manager Community Development to answer any questions related to this item.
Through the Chair, in terms of the provisions, I can provide the exact ones in the funding arrangements, but we try and work proactively with postponements wherever feasible. So we take a very pragmatic and partnership approach in how we can resolve matters. So there is a degree of discretion, but certainly, as we've said here, we use milestone payments and we also use our normal acquittable process to try and mitigate that risk.
Thank you, General Manager. Yes, Councillor Angie.
Yeah, I've got a question. Given that there is a high chance that some events will have to be cancelled this year, are we considering that or is the panellists considering that in their assessment of applications this year? So, for example, I guess looking more kindly, I suppose, on outdoor events and the like?
Thanks, Councillor Angie. We'll go straight to Kylie, General Manager.
Through the Chair, in terms of the provisions for setting up the events, there are components like COVID arrangements that are now part of our event information. So that is provided, whether that's internal, and you'll note in some of the response applicant from the forums that people have put in requests for additional COVID mitigations, for example. So we take all that information on board.
Yes, Councillor Angie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that completely answers the question. I guess what I want to understand is if the panels, I guess it is an administrative matter, so if you can't answer it, so be it. But have the criteria been tweaked given that we're operating in a completely different environment this year?
Thanks, Andy. GM?
We're taking each application on merit based on not knowing what the circumstances will be as the year unfolds.
Are there any other questions from any of the pardon me, councillors? I've got a question in relation to H, RSLWA for Anzac Day 2022. I notice $100,000 is the recommended amount, and then $10,000 conditional upon the delivery of equity, diversity and inclusion considerations, including engagement of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Can I just seek some clarity on this? So I remember what happened last year, and there was a blow-up, if you like, around the flying of the Aboriginal flag and also the welcome to country. I think there was a position from the RSL. That position was later changed, but then, of course, there was no Anzac Day service because of the COVID conditions. So that $10,000 specifically, is that what we, that scenario that I just described, is that what we are looking to ensure is part of the program of events by stipulating that $10,000 separately? To the GM of Communities?
Through the chair, yes, that is. Effectively, we want to work in partnership once the decision by council is made to look at all types of opportunities, whether that's a welcome to country or any other arrangements that may demonstrate inclusion and diversity. We did note in our recommendation rationale that the application demonstrated minimal consideration for the level of funding requested in this particular regard. So that was the reason for putting the $10,000 separately with the aim to work with the group. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess just on Anzac Day, so if Anzac Day were not to happen, what happens to the money?
As it is, through the chair, as it is over $10,000 funding, we put in milestone payments. So we work with the groups to make sure that we mitigate as much as possible. We do ask the organisations to be pragmatic, and if changes happen, we ask them to demonstrate what have been sunk costs that can't be recovered. So we do ask them to take a proactive approach in trying to recover any costs that they are able to do so.
Okay. Thanks, GM. Cheers. Any other questions from any councillors? Councillor Fleeton.
Thank you. So on Anzac Day, we know the date.
Councillor Bepp, just
sorry. We know the date, so it's 100 grand or 110 depending on what they do. What are the sunk costs? You know, last year it was cancelled. I'd imagine a lot of the costs they're going to incur straight away. Are we going to transfer 100 to them the moment we pass this, or how's it going to work?
GM.
Through the chair, we can provide you with details of the milestone payments we did last time, and certainly as we do each funding agreement, we have learnings from what was done previously. So looking at each arrangement is bespoke. We will do so again when we get to the milestone payments for these recommendations.
Just one more quickly. Sorry, if they say no to the 10,000, then we're going to pay 100,000 and they don't have to do the welcome to country. They can do whatever they want.
Correct, through the chair, that is the way that the recommendation is framed.
All right, well, hopefully they'll understand what the intention of that is. That's right. Are there any further questions, Councillor Bevan?
Certainly, thank you, Lord Mayor. Item G, should the dates be 22 rather than 21 on the projected date?
G. Oh,
Page 21.
So the last lot, 21, 22 it says.
The Targa West.
Yeah.
And also, could I ask a question? Are there other local government contribution or other government agency contributions to this event? Sure.
So I think 21 is wrong, isn't it? What year are we in? 22? Yeah. So that should be 22. I can answer that. There you go. General Manager for the rest?
For the details of the funding from external bodies, I can find out what was put in the application and provide that through separately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, councillors? Okay, thank you. We'll move then to 13 Infrastructure and Operations Alliance reports. 13.1 is the variation to contract 0075/21 safety bollard installation. Councillor Fleeton, I note you had a question, answered satisfactorily. Any councillors have any further questions there? No, thank you. 14 is Corporate Service Alliance reports, corporate services rather. 14.1 monthly financial report. And Councillor Fleeton, I notice a number of questions there.
sorry, thanks. Page 5, I think it's number 6, around the separate CIBN on the carbon offset program. Is that in drafting now, or I know we've got a lot that's coming through, so just an expected date on that would be great, please.
Sure. So under the instruction from the CEO, all questions to the. Are we coming to you on that one?
No, you come to me.
Then first time round. Okay.
Number 5, are we talking about?
No, it's paid.
Yeah, so under 14.
Yeah, page 5.
6, sorry, yep.
Question number 5.
Is that the one, councillor?
Well, it's 6 in my list, but it's on page 5.
Yeah.
It's the CIBN on the carbon offset program in the parking business.
Yes.
All right. CEO.
So if I could ask the General Manager, Commercial Services, to answer that or any other questions related to that matter?
Thank you, CEO. Through the Chair, in consultation with the Chief Financial Officer, we'll prepare the CIBN and we'll look to be completing that by the end of next week.
Oh, excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Is there anything further there?
Yeah, if I can, just on the list, question 11 on page 7, with the interest rates. So the answer states interest rates were not forecast to go up at all during this financial year, but interest revenues have been impacted by further reductions in interest rates since July. So to the city, is that what the bank's offering us? So interest rates haven't moved, it's just the bank doesn't want our money, is that right?
CEO.
If I could ask our Chief Financial Officer, Michael Kent, to answer that question?
Thank you very much. Through the Chair, that is entirely correct, Councillor. It relates to the rates that the banks are prepared to offer us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any further questions from any councillors or Councillor Fleeton? No? Okay, thank you, councillors. 14.2, Schedule of Accounts paid November 2020.
Lord Mayor, I'm so sorry. I was flicking through my pages. Could I just quickly ask a question on page 11 of the answers that we've got here?
Sure.
Which is point 23, regarding the Jackson McDonald dog prosecution. So in one of the answers, it says that the legal spend is not currently divided by alliances. Some matters are multi-alliance or whole of city. Well, if that's the case, can we get a breakdown of how much has been spent financial year to date on external advice, please?
CEO?
Yes, we'll provide that. Thank you.
One last one.
Yeah, sure.
Page 11, just underneath. So the question to brand agency, what was the work for? And the answer doesn't actually itemise that. It's just saying they've been appointed for a 2-year contract and their knowledge and understanding of the digital environment is not currently matched by the city's new agency. I just, want to know how much this is for.
CEO?
If I could invite the Acting Executive Director, Governance and Strategy, to answer that question.
Through the Chair, the brand agency helped revamp the website, and their knowledge and expertise of Sitecore, which is the platform that the website is on, was required by the city to ensure that our support was provided in a timely manner.
Thank you. Just one follow-up. So we've signed a new agreement for them for $5,500 a month for 2 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So how are we going to upskill the agency that we approved last year if we're not going to give anyone else the work and we're going to stay with the agency that we were with before?
Through the Chair, I'd have to take that one on notice.
That's it. Thanks,
Can I ask a question to clarify Councillor Fleeton's inquiries? We were told we had a panel and we could accept work from a production implementation, creative services and production implementation panel, but now we seem to still have other agencies that we're continually paying. How does that work? Are we in breach of our own procurement policy?
Bronwyn, back to you.
Through the Chair, with regard to the procurement policy, brand agency was used a unique supplier exemption as part of the process, given the fact that they had expertise that other organisations did not have. That was done. I'd have to find out, take on notice when that process went through.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bronwyn. Any further questions? Okay, we're off to 14.2, schedule of accounts paid November 2021. There were no questions received on this item. Have we got any from the room? Thank you. 14.3, monthly financial report, December 2021. Again, nothing on that one. Anybody have anything? Thank you. 14.4, schedule of accounts paid December 2021. Any questions on this item, councillors? 14.5, mid-year statutory budget review. Any questions on this item, councillors? 14.6 is the corporate business plan quarterly report 2. Councillor Leisure, I know there were 3 questions from you. Have they been answered to your satisfaction?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions from any councillors? Item 15, Chief Executive Officer reports. 15.1 is Local Government Act Reform, City of Perth submission. Are there any questions from any councillors on this item? No? Okay. Yes, Councillor Loser.
Sorry, Lord Mayor. The question really is not so much about the content of the briefing, but who do we share this information with after, let's assume it's approved next week at the meeting, who then gets this information? Are we sharing it with Wolga? Are we sharing it with other local councils? Who are we sharing this information with? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Loser. CEO?
So this information will be provided to the department and also the Minister as part of the consultation process for the Minister's announcement of this particular reform package. In the meantime, I'm meeting with the CEO of Wolga and also the Executive Director of the Department of Local Government, Cultural Industries and Sport.
A follow-up, there's no plan, are you also talking to our local, other councils around us about the content of our submission?
I haven't anticipated having conversations with the other local governments. My understanding is that this template that we've actually utilised is being utilised by every local government, and in the main, I've already had one conversation with the CEO of Wolga. I think there's the vast majority of the recommendations, according to Wolga, they're supporting. So I would imagine most of the other councils will probably support them as well.
Councillor Leisure, I was at the most recent inner city mayors gathering, and it was raised amongst the mayors and CEOs at the time, and the feeling was there was some discussion about going in together, but in the end there were enough differences of opinion on some items that the common view around the table was that each council was best placed to do their own work, and that's certainly reflective of what we've done here. Are there any further questions? Yep, you're welcome. Okay, let's go to 15.2, inquiry into the City of Perth recommendations quarterly update. Do we have any questions here, councillors? 15.3 is the appointment of the Audit and Risk Committee independent members. Do we have any questions on this item? 16, committee reports. Following the Policy and Legislation Committee meeting held yesterday, items referred from the committee to council, which will be included on the agenda for next week's ordinary council meeting. 17, motions of which notice have been given will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting next week. Moving to item 18, matters for which the meeting may be closed. Item 18.1 and the attachment to 15.3A are designated confidential in accordance with section 5.232 of the Local Government Act 1995. If any elected members have any questions on the confidential items or attachments, we will need to close the session to the public. No? Okay, we'll go to item 19. Not 18. No. Item 19 is urgent business, and this item will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting. So there being no further business, I will now declare the agenda briefing session closed at 5:34 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated.
Could we all please rise as the Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis leaves the room?
Thank you. I'm leaving the room. Councillors, if you've got 1 second next door, that would be greatly appreciated.